This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Welcome to Jumping Bomb Audio.
Welcome back to Jumping Bomb Audio, the number one show all about the world of Joshi Pro Wrestling, and we are back. We took an episode off for various reasons, but now we have returned. We're happy to be back. We've got a lot to talk about. I am Taylor, and I'm very pleased to be joined once again by Kelly. Kelly, how are you doing?
I'm not dead.
You survived the
COVID.
The
novel coronavirus 19.
You have joined the club of people who have gotten it and gotten through it, which is the well, I guess the best club to be in would be the club that doesn't get it at all.
Yeah.
Because you had a fairly terrible time. I had a fairly terrible time, but it sounds like I had a less terrible time than you did.
Yeah, it sucked. It was like a full week straight of just like, hey, you want to feel like garbage all day? Well, here you go.
I'm also a person who doesn't get sick that often. I'm fairly healthy, so I don't know if it was because I don't get sick that I was like, oh, this is really terrible, or if it was just really terrible.
Yeah, this was the first time I got sick since like the pandemic started, and there was that moment of like, oh yeah, this is what this is like.
And when you're in the middle of it and you're like, when I'm better, all I'm going to think about is how good it feels to be healthy. And then you get healthy and you totally forget about it.
Exactly.
You're like, oh, fine. Because then you're like, oh, I'm tired. Oh, I'm this. So
I had all these grand plans when I was like, all right, cool. When I get COVID, I'm going to be able to take a bunch of time off. It's going to be great. I'll be able to catch up on all this stuff. I'll be able to read all these things. And I didn't do any of that because I just felt like shit all the time. And I was like, all right, I'm going to lay in front of the TV and just watch things I don't care about at all because I might fall asleep at any moment.
Yeah, mine was a big nap time where I'd be like, okay, I could get all this stuff done. And then an hour into doing something, I'd be like, oh, I'm really tired. I'm going to take a nap.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, but happy that you are well again and happy to be back doing this show. It has been over a month for me without doing the show, and I'm happy to be back. Before we dive in, we got a lot to cover this episode. Got to do the plugs. If you're not yet following us on Twitter, follow us at JBombAudio. You can follow Kelly at Comic Geek Kelly, and you can follow me at Taymane, but we did do a little bit of tweeting over the past few weeks, some about Stardom, some about the Tokyo Joshi Summer Sun Princess, which we are about to talk about. So trying to get some tweets up there, so definitely give us a follow. Subscribe to this podcast on your podcast app of choice, and if that app of choice happens to be Apple Podcasts, please, we'd love it if you give us a 5-star rating and review. And if you're feeling extra generous, you can donate to the show at redcircle.com/shows/jumping-bomb-audio. And one further plug, last week I appeared on the Emerald Flow Show Mid-Year Awards. Emerald Flow Show, a podcast all about the world of Noah and All Japan on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network. Last week was their mid-year award show where I appeared. Lots of talk about Joshi. So if you want to know my mid-year thoughts on Joshi, check that episode out. So we are talking Tokyo Joshi Summer Sun Princess. We're talking Stardom Midsummer Champions. we're going to be talking Sendai Girls, who just had a big show. But first, Kelly, I got to ask you, trying to pull people into this show, Sasha Banks, not in WWE, what Joshi company is Sasha Banks going to appear in?
I mean, she's got to go to Sendai Girls, right? Those are her friends.
I was briefly thinking they did have a show last night, last night, whatever you want to call it. I did wonder, very briefly, and not too seriously, if she would appear after the main event, which was a big Sendai Girls title match, if she would appear, a shocking appearance at Sendai Girls, but she did not appear. That would also be my choice, but you never know. She may appear back in WWE. Who knows? But now we've talked about it, so I can put it in the episode description, and we can trick people into listening to this episode.
I mean, though, Choco Pro, Aki's leaving for 2 months. That leaves a hole in the promotion. Then maybe Sasha Banks might be the one to fill. Maybe
she will become the new ace of Diana. Diana just launched a streaming, or you can now buy their shows streaming. And what better way to draw people in than having Sasha Banks appear?
Yeah. I haven't watched the Ganbare show that happened today, so maybe she shows up in there.
Maybe she shows up and everyone just agreed not to mention it anywhere online.
Yeah, she's like, all right, time to wrestle Ken Oka.
Anyway, the first thing we'll be diving into today on the show is the big Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling Summer Sun Princess 2-2 from Ota City General Gymnasium in front of 1,130 fans, a very good number there. Also wanted to do this one first because I just wanted to say this podcast started in March of 2020, and here we are, July of 2022, and this will be the first ever show that we cover on this podcast where cheering was allowed. A big moment for the promotion and a big moment for us.
It was really cool watching the wrestlers come out, especially the ones that had never been in front of cheering crowds before. Like that was just really cool to see. Like in the opener, like you could see just Mocha really kind of being overcome by emotions in that after the opening bell.
Yeah, it was really great. They did mention, I believe, in the first match that neither Mocha or Juria had ever wrestled in front of fans that were allowed to cheer, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Very wild. But it was a great show. I've always said on this podcast that the first show that allowed cheering in Japan would get wildly overrated by me. But I thought that this was a very, very good show. Kelly, I think you agreed. Did you enjoy the show?
I loved this show. I thought it was great. It was paced super well. It didn't feel like it was like 4 hours long, and just the crowd was so good. And I really loved this show. It was a really good time.
Yeah, I would have to go back. I was thinking about this and I didn't go back. I would have to go back and see what my overall thoughts were about Wrestle Princess 2. Because I remember really liking that show overall. Like as a whole, I remember Wrestle Princess 1 had the Mizuki match, which was really amazing and really well praised. But I think my memory of Wrestle Princess 2 was that it was a really strong show overall. So I would have to go back and see, but I think this is at the very least, one of my favorite Tokyo Joshi Pro shows ever. I think the whole card really was very strong, which has really benefited them. In the past, it would sort of be like, oh, I enjoyed the show because 1 or 2 matches were good. And now, really starting with, I mean, to me, the third match, which we'll talk about in a second, I think everything really above the third match was pretty strong. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Wrestle Princess 2, the only thing that immediately comes to mind is like being better was I think they had more like intricate entrances and that show, and this one kind of felt like it was missing that.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see. It's also so funny because 11:30 was the number announced. That is not a number I would have gotten. And if you would have said, okay, you looked at the crowd, what would you have guessed? 11:30 is nowhere close to what I would have guessed for the number of people. It didn't look that full.
No.
And I feel like on the Wrestle Princess, they wrestle those in venues that are a little bit better at feeling really full, and they do, as you said, feel like a bigger deal.
Mm-hmm.
So I do agree on that point. I mean, 11:30 is excellent for them, especially considering we'll talk about in a second that Stardom only drew about 100 fans more for their big show on the same weekend. But yeah, it would be close. As I said, I would have to go back because the memories of Wrestle Princess 2 have left my brain. But anyway, the first match, as we mentioned a few minutes ago, a singles match between Mocha Miyamoto and Juri Nagano. Mocha winning in 4 minutes and 58 seconds by submission. Kelly, what did you think of this first match?
I thought this ruled. I went 3 3/4 on it. I thought it was an awesome opener and just a really cool kind of karate clash between these two. They did a great job opening, and I like that they played to their strengths as just not traditional wrestlers.
Yeah, I liked it too. It was fairly short. It was under 5 minutes. I really liked the neck chop battle that they had. That was an interesting sort of twist on the usual sort of strike battle. I think Mocha is very good. I still think she's sort of held back, as we've talked about before, by her look. Of this sort of weird dress. Like Juri, they're very similar in that they are both sort of karate based, but Juria comes to the ring and looks very cool, even though, she wears sort of the nurse outfit, which she then removes to reveal her gear. But I feel like her gear better serves her as what she is, where Mocha it still sort of feels like not the correct look for her, especially if they're going to emphasize, oh, she is good at karate. Like, they've had people like Pam Harajuku has done, I believe she's done some combat stuff, but that has sort of been de-emphasized. And I thought that was the way that they were going to go with Mocha with this look. But if they're not, it feels like they need a different look for her.
Yeah, and I don't know what she needs, but it's not that.
But yes, overall, a really good start to the show. The next match was an 8-person tag team match. The team of Aja Kong, Pam Harajuku, Raku, and Yuki Aeno defeating Haruna Neko, Hyper Misao, Kaya Torabami, and now Kakuta in 12 minutes and 28 seconds. First, the most obvious point. This is the happiest I've ever seen Aja Kong in any match. And it wasn't really a comedy match, not in the way that you think of sort of a DDT comedy match where it's almost entirely comedy and the match sort of takes the back seat. But still, I thought a super fun match. I thought one of the biggest things that stuck out to me was I talked a couple episodes ago about Torabami sort of hitting that point of she sort of had the moves that she goes to that were her quote unquote high flying moves to sort of show off her offense, and that she had sort of hit that ceiling. I think with this match and a few of the previous matches, she's shown she's sort of stretching beyond that, which is really good to see. She's making those improvements to sort of put together a full sort of move set instead of just being like, I'm a high flyer in move A, B, and C, and the rest of the time I'm just sort of a basic wrestler. She's added to her wheelhouse, which is good to see. So good to see those improvements there.
Yeah, I loved Misao just being like, all right, cool. I'm going to switch teams. So, Pam, you're over here now. That was really fun. And I really just, I thought Aja Kong moved around pretty good. Like, it looks like that time off has paid off. Like it looks like her I don't know, her joints don't hurt as much as they used to. So, and then I think that might be a part of why it looked like she was having so much fun, because maybe she was for the first time in a while.
Yeah, I think a lot of, I think that is part of it. I don't think that she'll ever be back to, you know, full time big
No,
match person, but it's very clear to me that, in this match, she did the elbow from the top rope, which
that
got
was kind of
everyone
nuts.
sort of like, oh, but it seems clear to me that she's clearly more comfortable being in the ring. I think she probably was in, I don't know this, but she probably was in some amount of pain before these, she got these surgeries. So it is good to see. Um, see her very happy, see her able to move around a little easier, and hopefully extend her in ring career because I like seeing her.
Mm-hmm. And it was good to see her and Raku back together after they split them up the last time that Aja Kong showed up.
Yes, almost inseparable in this
Yeah,
in this match, which was a lot of fun.
I'm telling you, they should make a challenge for the tag belts.
I've always thought that they're going to face off one on one, but now that they're so buddy buddy, it seems like that's not the way that they're going. The third match was another singles match. The debuting in the promotion, Ryo Mizunami defeating Miyu Watanabe in 11 minutes and 53 seconds. Ryo Mizunami subbing in for Willow Nightingale, who was supposed to be in this match but had some visa issues and was not able to make it. Kelly, what did you think of this match? What did you think of Ryo Mizunami's debut in Tokyo Joshi?
This was an awesome hoss fight. Like, they were both hard hitting. The Miyu's swing is never not impressive, but like here it was so good because the first time, she couldn't do it. And then just once she got it later on in the match, just it felt so good to see her able to pull it off. And just the crowd went nuts. Like, that was so cool. I went 4 stars on this. I thought it was great.
I also went 4 stars. I wrote the crowd was really hot. This was the first match where I was like, yeah, the crowd, the crowd had been in the other two matches, but this was the first one where I was like, yeah, the crowd is like really into this. I really liked this match because Rio brought out the toughness
Mm-hmm.
in Miyu. There's some matches in Tokyo Joshi where you can have a good match, but you're sort of there's still sort of this character of Tokyo Joshi of sort of we're going out here, we're having fun, we're having a good time, and you can face people where you can have a good match, but it's more on the side of chummy, sort of friendly. We're having a good match, and this is a lot of fun. Whereas this match, it felt like Rio was like, I'm gonna give my best stuff, and it's gonna be really tough, and you got to give it back to me in the same way. And I felt like Miyu really stepped up. I tweeted about this during the show. It felt like she really stepped up to that, which I think made the match so good because we saw sort of that more tough side in Miyu that we don't always see. But I was right with you. I went 4 stars. I thought it was the first really good match of the show.
Yeah, Miyu needs more matches like this because there is 100% something there with her, and just matches like this I think will help unlock that more.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, she's someone who, we always talk about people going to AEW, and Yuka's been there, and Shoko, and, different people, and there were some AEW people on the show. Miyu is sort of on that level now in general, where I think she's sort of um, more hidden. Anyone who watches Tokyo Joshi is, I can't say maybe everyone, maybe there's someone out there who isn't, but people who watch the promotion know how good she is. But I think outside the sort of bubble of Tokyo Joshi fans, she's maybe less known than someone like Maki Ito or, a Yuka or someone like that. And So that sort of worries me that she's not at that level yet, because it feels like with AEW, that sort of experience, you have to sort of be at the very top to have them even sort of pay attention to you, which is a bummer just because they don't have someone, or it feels like they don't have someone that's all that plugged into what's happening in Joshi in general. Uh, but yeah, I really hope she gets a chance, because I think that she could really surprise people. I mean, she has the look, this sort of pink look, which I think a lot of people would sort of associate with like, oh, she's going to come out, she's going to be a nice, blah, blah, blah person. But she has that sort of fierceness in her, and obviously the strength and the giant swing. And, they talked about Claudio Castagnoli on the English broadcast of the show. And I think that would be a, fun aspect. So I hope that she does get more opportunities.
Definitely. And if she does go over there, I hope it's not just jobbing to Serena Deeb and Nyla Rose.
Yeah, and we'll have to see what happens with, a lot of the booking, which we haven't talked about because we haven't gotten, to the top end of this card yet. But if there is going to be a logjam, which it feels like there is now, she would be a great candidate to go away for, not a year, but maybe 2 or 3 months, to get her in a spot where she's not just sitting around waiting for her opportunity, but she's out doing something, and then she can come back when maybe a little bit of the logjam is cleared. But we'll see.
Yeah.
The next match was a tag team match. Hikari Noa and Hikaru Shida taking on Mahiro Kiryu and Yuki Kamifuku, and the team of Noah and Shida coming out victorious in 13 minutes and 32 seconds. Kelly, Mahiro Kiryu is probably one of the most talked about Tokyo Joshi wrestlers on this program. What did you think of her, and what did you think of this match?
I thought she was fine enough here. Like, overall, I kind of felt the match was clunky, but like, there's no one wrestler I would put that on. It just seemed like they had a weird chemistry that didn't entirely click for me. But overall, I thought the match was still enjoyable. I really enjoyed the exchange between Shida and Kamiyu. But yeah, it just had a weird vibe to this match that just it never really clicked for me. I only went 2 3/4 on this one.
You took almost all the words out of my mouth. Yeah. I literally wrote, didn't really click with me, and it felt awkward.
Yeah. It had an awkwardness to it that it was just like, it honestly, it felt like one of those matches where it's like, okay, one of these people doesn't speak Japanese.
Yeah, and I also wrote, my other note was the saga of figuring out if Mahiro is good or not. Which in this match I was sort of like, who knows?
Yeah.
It is also one of those matches where they didn't have this on the show, so I felt like it maybe could have been helped by some sort of stipulation. Like, they had the stuff with the chair, they had other stuff. It's like, why didn't they just sort of lean into that, especially with Hikari Noa, who sort of is known for and likes that stuff? You don't really have anything else like that on the card.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was just sort of like, it seemed clear to me that Shida and Yuki were a step above Noah and Kiryu in this match, because, as I said, I think they had the best sequence together.
For sure.
And looked the best. But yeah, a little bit of a disappointment, and I'm sort of like, can Shida wrestle in this company without wrestling Mahiro Kiryu? Like, it's just weird that she keeps showing up in these matches, and I'm like, okay, like, back in another match with Shida again. But anyway, after this match, they did announce that the non-binary Nightmare, I believe is their nickname, Max the Impaler, will be coming to Tokyo Joshi in August for the August shows. One of those shows will be a Korakuen Hall show. So that will be interesting. But the next match, and I think really, Kelly, I'm sure you would agree with me, the kickoff to the top half of this card,
Oh yeah.
Mei Suruga and Suzume defeating Ariso Endo and Riho in 14 minutes and 21 seconds. Kelly, what did you think of this match?
I thought this was great. All four women worked really hard. Mei and Suzume are a really fun team together. I like them a lot. The Mei and Riho interactions were awesome. Just I love this kind of eternal feud in the background, trying to be the top Emi Sakura student. Like that was really cool. And the Endo I thought did really well here too. Like this was honestly one of her best outings yet so far, I think. And she and Riho are a really good team. I'd like to see them tag together again. Yeah, this was really good. I went 3 3/4 on it.
I did write my first note was Riho is the 25-year-old grizzled veteran of this match. Yeah. I think she has more in-ring experience than the other three combined.
Probably.
At only 25, and she was the oldest wrestler in the match.
Though definitely not since the pandemic.
Yeah. Which is pretty wild. But this was exactly what I wanted out of the match. Fast-paced, it moved really well. This was sort of in that spot that they sometimes do where they announce a really good tag match and then it doesn't get enough time and it goes short and you're sort of like, oh, well, under delivered. This did not do that. It was really good. I thought all four of them got moments to shine. I wrote that Arisa Endo, to me, is clearly of sort of all the rookies, even though they're all sort of in different positions now. You know, you think Yuki Arai, Endo, Torabami, Nagano. Of all of those rookies, she is clearly the most well-rounded of all the rookies. I thought that she really fit well into this match, and she wasn't it would be easy to look here and say, okay, here's three really good wrestlers who've been wrestling for a little bit, and Ariso Endo, who's the rookie, who's going to take the pinfall and will be fine in the match. I thought she fit in really well. I thought she impressed, and I thought she was on really pretty much equal level with the other three.
Yeah. I think one thing for Endo to really move up the card, I think one thing she has to do is screw with her moveset a little bit, because I think a lot of her stuff is knee based, and I really think she's going to blow out her knees one of these days. Because so much of her moves are, I land on my knees.
Well, she's still very young, and maybe as she ages, she'll start saying, maybe I should do less of it.
She'll have the CM Punk moment of, maybe I shouldn't do the Pepsi Plunge anymore.
But yes, an excellent match and a good kickoff to the second half of the match. The next match was our first of 3 title matches, the International Princess title match, and the champion, Maki Ito, losing the title to Alex Windsor in 13 minutes and 22 seconds. I really enjoyed this match. I saw a lot of different thoughts on this match online as I was watching the show, but I thought it was really good. I had never seen Alex Windsor before, didn't really know even that much about her, and she really impressed me. I thought she was really sharp. I thought she had good offense, but even better, I thought she did some really great selling of Ito's offense. There was, I think, a couple DDTs that she took that looked really good, really added to the match. I thought it was a really great match with a really strong finishing sequence. So I went 4 stars on the shocking upset of Maki Ito. Kelly, what did you think?
I agree. I liked the match a lot. I had also never seen Windsor before and came away really impressed. There was a bit when I was actually in the middle of messaging you saying, what is up with Windsor's gear? And as I'm typing that, they're explaining that she lost her gear bag. I'm like, all right, cool, delete. Don't need to talk about that anymore.
Yeah, she lost her gear. I believe most of her gear that she was wearing was provided by Chris Brooks.
Yes. Yeah, I know
Um,
he said on commentary that he loaned her his kick pads and knee pads at the very least.
so yeah, so I'm happy to see Windsor come back because I thought she was really good, and hopefully next time she's back, we'll get to see her in full gear. So we'll have
Yes.
a little bit extra to see from her. But happy to see Windsor win because, as I said, I'm more than happy to see more from her because I thought she was very impressive.
Yeah, I was not expecting her to win at all. Like, that was a total shock.
I still don't, and this has become a running theme of Tokyo Joshi in this podcast. I still really don't understand what's going on with really any of the booking. Because I guess as long as someone who is not new doesn't win the Princess of Princess title, I don't really understand if anything that happens sort of has a point. I feel like the Maki Ito loss, is sort of chalked up to they gave it back to her to have a title so she could draw at the top while they couldn't get anyone in the country. And then they figured, well, now people can come in the country because it is, I think, going back to a little bit, or at least this win sort of signals it for me, going back to what it was before, which was sort of this more international title, you know, sort of more foreigner, sort of what the SWA title has been in the past for Stardom. And so Windsor winning it makes sense there. But there's sort of the story of, if we think of just the story of Maki Ito and isolate whatever else is happening, I've sort of lost that thread of what is the story of Maki Ito. It seems like she's continuously stuck in this story of she's doing well, oh, but she can't win. Oh, she's doing well. Oh, she lost again. It just feels sort of like a constant back and forth of what she's doing and the through line of, oh, she's gaining confidence. She's going up to the top. I thought was going to end when she won the title at Wrestle Princess 2, and then that didn't happen. So it's thrown the whole thing off for me because it feels like we're just retracing the steps we've already been through.
Yeah, I have no read at all of where we're going with her.
Like, because someone said after the match online said, oh, she got sucked into that the crowd was back and she's into, doing the call who's the cutest in the world for the first time in a while, which got a huge reaction. And that cost her the match. But I'm like, we've sort of already been down that road. And then there was the moment when she was like, no, I'm the new era charisma and I'm more focused. And that was the whole lead up to the title match, which she lost. And now it's like, she's back into being into the crowd and doing the middle finger in the match, which was all part of this story of her sort of becoming more serious and stripping that away on the path to the title. And now that's gone. And she's sort of in the same position she was in a number of months ago.
Yeah, it's weird. There isn't a through line there anymore where there used to be one.
But we'll see. We have some things coming up, and we'll talk about more sort of options as we get closer to the top of this card. But something interesting to think about. The next match was our last non-title match, a special singles match between the AEW champion Thunder Rosa and Miyu Yamashita. Miyu Yamashita defeating Thunder Rosa in 13 minutes and 39 seconds. This match was maybe the most disappointing match to me of the show. I had a lot of hype with it. I think I understand why, but I think they sort of undercut it a little bit by having Thunder announce, well, if you beat me, I'll give you a title shot in AEW. Then it was sort of like, okay, so Miyu's winning.
Yeah.
But it just felt like they never really clicked in ring. It felt early to me like Miyu was sort of pulling her strikes a little bit. Then it got sort of better in the middle, and then I thought the end just sort of fell apart. There was the spot of Thunder taking the mouth guard out, putting it in her mouth. Then Miyu goes to give the big kick, which Thunder was supposed to catch and didn't.
Yeah, that was weird.
And sort of from that point, it felt sort of just totally off, where it was like, oh, we're not really sure what's going on. Okay. And then it just sort of ended with, a Miyu win. So this to me, so close to the top. I mean, I didn't even put a star rating on this just because, it was less than, it probably would have been like 3.25. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I went 3.5, but it was a very disappointed 3.5. It was easy to tell they were holding a lot back for their eventual rematch. One weird thing about this match that I noticed was you can tell how shitty AEW's live sound mixing is because Thunder Rosa's music sounded entirely different than it normally does. It's like, oh, okay, this is what it's actually supposed to sound like, huh?
I couldn't even tell you what Thunder Rosa's. Oh, I guess it starts with Thunder Rosa.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the only part of the song I could tell you off the top of my head is that part.
Yeah, that's the funny thing. Like, if you go to a live AEW show and you like can hear the pipe in the music more, obviously because you're there, a lot of the songs sound way different than they do on TV just because their sound mixing is bad, and it's kind of always been bad, and it's bad in person too. Like the bass on everything is always just so fucked up. But it's very much like, this is what this song is supposed to sound like, huh?
That feels like an American problem, because I feel like all sound mixing, not even music, but just in-ring sound mixing,
Oh yeah,
is horrible. I think the only promotion really that ever got it right was Ring of Honor, because that was such a big part of their in-ring stuff, was like hearing the in-ring stuff, and they got it. Of course, there was a lot of other stuff in Ring of Honor that was a total disaster in terms of production. The cameras were never all that good. The commentary was sometimes not mixed correctly, but they did get the in-ring stuff. But it just feels to me like that has historically been a thing that's never good. I mean, you talk about Miyu coming over and having those matches. She had that match against Masha Slamovich. You could not hear anything going on in the ring.
No.
And it's like, that's the whole thing with Miyu, is you want to hear what's happening in the ring. And it was like, well, here's the announcers talking full volume over a silent ring. And it was not good. Anyway, the semi-main of this show was the Princess Tag Team title match. New champions Saki Akai and Yuki Arai, the Reiwa AA Cannon, defeating the Magical Sugar Rabbits team of Mizuki and Yuka Sakazaki in 24 minutes and 28 seconds. Kelly, I'll throw it to you first. Did you enjoy this match?
I liked this match a lot. I really enjoy Arai and Akai as a tag team. I think they're really fun together. Magi Rabby, always great. I thought the closing stretch of this match was awesome. And it really felt like they were like Arai and Akai worked really hard for the win. Like this was definitely a fight and a struggle to win, and it makes it feel like this is a really big deal for Arai's first title in her career. I guess she did win the whatever the 24/7 DDT title is that I cannot remember the name of right now. That was her first victory in wrestling back in 2018. But yeah, I was surprised by the result, but not unwelcome at all. I am super happy to see this new team come up and win the belts. That was cool. I went 4 stars on this.
I feel like I was probably, based on the reaction while I was watching. I'm probably the low man. I didn't think it was bad. I went 3.5, but it never quite got to that next level for me. I really liked the beginning. I love as I've talked about before on the show, when the Magical Sugar Rabbits sort of do that Tanahashi heel sort of thing where they're not
Yeah.
totally heels, but they sort of act, rude, I guess you would say. Like, I really loved Yuka beating up Yuki Arai and then throwing her into her own corner to make the tag.
Grumpy Yuka is the best.
Yeah, which I thought was great, but then I thought they sort of went away from it in the middle of the match, and I was like, okay, this is good, but it's not totally clicking with me. And then I also really enjoyed the finishing sequence. I loved Saki Akai holding, I don't remember who it was, holding Mizuki and having Yuki just come up and kick her in the back of the head.
That
and
was
being
awesome.
Like, get over here and kick her. That I thought was really cool. Happy to see Saki Akai and Yuki Arai win. But yeah, a good match for me that never quite got to the next level, and I'm not really sure why. Was fascinated to learn this was Saki Akai's first tag title win in Tokyo Joshi. However, if you took another random member of the roster,
Like who?
Just any random person, and you combined their tag reigns with Saki Akai's, you would have the most tag title reigns in the history of the promotion.
Huh, that's a weird stat.
Yeah, it is a weird stat, and also it would be with 4 different partners.
Wow.
So surpassing Yuka, who had the record of 3. But just a random stat. If you just found someone else on the roster who's been on the roster, who's held the tag titles before, and combined it with Saki Akai's 1 reign, you would have the record.
Huh. Okay. I think I'm picking up what you're putting down. I think we're talking about Rika Tatsumi, right?
Yep.
All right,
you
cool.
got it. Yep, you got it. But anyway, the other thing I found, and this sort of ties in with the Maki Ito thing, is this feels to me, obviously getting a title on Yuki Arai, I think, is important to the promotion for drawing purposes. But this feels to me, and again, I don't know if I'm putting the cart before the horse again, this feels like a freeing up of Mizuki to me.
Yeah.
It feels like, once again, you got us through this moment of time, just like with Ito. We can take the titles off you. You had another good reign. You're very consistent in the tag division. And as we'll talk about in a little bit, the Tokyo Princess Cup is coming up. And to me, I'm going to make a proclamation, Kelly.
Okay.
If at the end of Wrestle Princess 3, which I don't know exactly the exact date of that show, I don't remember, coming up in a few months though, if one of 3 people, I'm going to say Mizuki, Maki Ito, Miyu Watanabe, if one of the 3 of them is not Princess of Princess champion at the end of the show, I think that we are in deep trouble. Because it feels like, if that is the case, if the show ends and, I don't know, Miyu Yamashita is champion, I think that is a clear sign to me that it is never going to happen.
Yeah.
And I get frustrated because things like this happen. Because they had the number 1 contenders match. Everyone said, well, Rika's going to win because she's the only person who's ever held the title before. And Rika won. And the argument was, well, Rika has held the title before. She's going to be the strongest draw. You don't want to put someone like Miyu in that spot because the crowd won't believe she'll win. But now we're creating a self-fulfilling prophecy where people go, well, Miyu won't draw on this show because she's never won. And it's like, yes, that's why she won't draw. At some point, you got to take a risk. on one of these big shows. Or the thing about it is, it wouldn't even have to be at one of the big shows if you change the title at a Korakuen or something.
Mm-hmm.
And you said, okay. But also, I'm like, are you telling me that if Maki Ito became Princess of Princess Champion right now, that she would not draw? Because
Yeah, that's
I don't
insane
think
to say.
that's true at all. You think of Mizuki, one of the, I mean, to me, her and Maki Ito, less, Miyu Watanabe, a little bit less than them. They're like the top of the company, but yet they haven't won the title, which seems absurd to me. It's like, well, you trust Mizuki enough to be tag champion all the time,
Yeah.
multiple times. You trust Maki Ito to, hold the international princess title. She's always involved in big story. She's connected with Miyu Yamashita. She's going over to AEW. She's a big deal, and yet it's like, well, we can't have any of these people. And it's like, why not? And it just feels to me like it's such an arbitrary thing, but it's stuck in my mind that Retzel Princess 3, it feels like we fully made, we have all these new rookies that are really good right off the bat, which is totally new for Tokyo Joshi. It just feels to me like that's a point where if you're not going to pull the trigger then you're just never going to pull the trigger.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't do it then, in 2 years, if Mizuki becomes champion, is everyone just going to sort of be like, oh, woohoo? Like, who cares? it's the problem that many other companies have had where they sort of sit on someone and then by the time you make them champion, it's too late. I also think there is an element of you have to show people, and I'm not talking about a specific, not Mizuki, but you have to show the wrestling world at large that if you become good, you can get to the top of the company. All the talk about Mirai going from Tokyo Joshi to Stardom, and she gets pushed up the card immediately. She wins the Cinderella tournament. But it's like, if she was still in this company, what would she be doing? She
She'd
would
still
probably
be tagging with Suzume.
Yeah, or she'd be in these opening small matches. And
Yeah.
you have to show to other wrestlers, like, if you become good, if you're very talented, if you have a connection with the crowd, you can make it to the top of the card, because the story now is, well, you can make it pretty high, but if you haven't done it before, we're not going to trust you at all. When you can look across, it's like the grass is greener. You can look across the Stardom and be like, almost every person who goes there, who shows up, immediately rockets up the card
Mm-hmm.
in like 5 seconds. And it's like, would you rather sit here where you could sit in the same position for 2 or 3 years, or go over there where you're going to get a push in a matter of months?
Yeah,
So,
it's very much a case of watching Jerry Lynn win the title when Tyler Black's right there.
yes, and it's the idea of playing it safe. And I've talked about this. A lot of wrestling booking is taking risks. Are some of those risks going to work out? Probably not. Some of them might not work out at all, but some of them probably will work out. I am not concerned if Mizuki were to win the title today. I'm sure she would go out and have great defenses. She's going to have great defenses. She obviously has support. She has the history of being this tag champion. She has all these things. And so I don't know what they're so afraid of with being like, well, here are the 4 people who can win the title. And, we had Miyu losing to Shoko. We had Shoko and Yuka at Cyberfight. Now we have Shoko and Rika. And it's like, we just have this combination of 4 people in different orders forever.
Yeah.
So this sort of a weird side tangent on this one, but I just feel strongly because now it's like Mizuki is free of the tag title, so you don't have to worry about, oh, she has to stay with the tag title, she has to defend those, she can't become singles champion. Someone has to win the Tokyo Princess Cup of these 3, and that person has to win the title.
Yes, absolutely.
To move this company, and I think to move this company up beyond now they're running Korakuen on a regular basis, which was a step up. Now they're doing these bigger shows a couple times a year, 4 times a year. If you want to move to the next level, you got to get bigger. And I think running the same 4 people in different orders as champion is going to put a ceiling on this.
For sure. Like there needs to be a change, and like they're doing well right now. You can always do better.
So anyway, but Kelly, you enjoyed the semi-main main event.
I did. I like
yes.
that match.
But the main event was for that mentioned Princess of Princess title, the champion Shoko Nakajima retaining her title over Rika Tatsumi in 19 minutes and 23 seconds. I love this match. I thought it was great. Love the leg work. I really love the moment of catching the 619 into the dragon screw, the low 619 into the dragon screw. I thought that was really cool.
That was really cool.
I thought they did great work on the dragon sleeper late in the match, where I thought at one point that the ref was calling it.
He kept too.
Sort of turning, running towards the thing, and I'm like, oh, he's calling it, and then he'd run back, and I was like, oh, and I couldn't tell. I thought that was really great. And at the end, I wrote that rule. Great work by everyone. And I went 4.5 stars.
Nice. I went 4.25. I loved how the whole match felt like a struggle for Nakajima. And I think this is her best title match so far, I think. I'd have to look back at what I rated other things. But this is the one that I think I enjoyed the most. I really liked how the match built. It was paced really well. Rika is insane for that hip attack from the top to the floor. Like, that was nuts. The Dragon Sleeper looked great. Just really, really good match. Just super well built. Nakajima did great here. I thought she was losing it here for sure. But you know what? She pulled it out, and rightfully so. This is a great title match.
Yeah, Shoko is someone who sort of has it's sort of low floor, high ceiling for me. And that some of her matches, I'm like, I'm not really all that into it. But when she really gets, she has a good opponent, she puts together a good match, it can go really high for me. Obviously, I went 4.5 stars. And this was one of those examples. I just thought it was really great, a great struggle. I just thought it was excellent. I mean, I think clearly, easily, you said the best match of this title reign. I think it would easily get that. I'm not even sure what would come close for me. I also loved the hip attack. That was really great. Overall, great work and a great end to the show, and one which really for me took it from the show being like, oh yeah, this is a solid show, to like, oh yeah, this is a great overall show, because you end it sort of with this big moment of a great match, big moment, title defense, and a great cap to the show for me.
Yeah, this is easily one of my favorite shows of the year so far.
Yeah, I mean, I thought everything was, at the worst, pretty solid. The Miyu Thunder Rosa match was not my favorite, but I did see some people online who thought it was fairly good. So I may be the low person on that match. And then the opening few, there really wasn't that match. Maybe the 8-person match is the closest, but sort of covered by the Aja stuff. There really was not that 1 or 2 matches where you're sort of like, okay, these is like get the people on the card match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the 8-person tag was definitely covered by like, oh, this is fun. Like that. Having a match be fun can save you a lot of headaches, where it's just like, just end it, just get these people on the card and get them out of here so we can get on to the next stuff. Like, it was just, it was enjoyable to watch. It didn't feel like, well, these people are here just because they needed some bodies to fill this slot.
But that is our review of Tokyo Joshi Summer Sun Princess 2-2 from Ota City Oda City General Gymnasium. Next, we move on to another big show from this weekend, the Stardom Midsummer Champions Kings of Midsummer from Taichikawa Stage Garden in front of 1,204 fans. Kelly, we have not discussed the show at all with each other. So I'm fascinated. I am genuinely fascinated because I feel that we may have different thoughts. What did you think of this show?
I didn't like it very much. It may have been just because I watched it immediately after I watched Tokyo Joshi, but I was just like, well, this is all right, I guess. Or straight to, wow, I hate this.
Interesting. All right, because I really like this show. And we'll talk, some of it I was not crazy about, but other parts of it I really like. So we'll go through and see where we differed match by match. They did start with a dark match, a three-way match, Lady C defeating Hina and Yuko Sakurai in 5 minutes and 31 seconds. I did not see that match.
I didn't either.
Okay, I did miss that match. So congrats.
I bet it's the match
Lady
of the
C.
night, and that's why I didn't like this show. I missed the best match on the card.
But the first proper match was our first title match of the evening, the Future of Stardom title match. The champion, who now officially, I've spent the last 2 episodes really focused on whether she had the defense record. She now does have the defense record.
Running the numbers.
And is now very clear of that defense record. Hanan, the champion, defeating who else? Waka Tsukiyama in 8 minutes and 23 seconds with a backdrop driver. I almost gave Waka Tsukiyama the Frankie Kazarian treatment and said, you guessed it, Waka Tsukiyama. This was a match that happened on the card. My first note of this match is, please don't tell me Waka wins. So here's the thing.
Oh, I thought for sure she was winning.
So did I, because we haven't talked about it yet. They have the Korakuen on the 28th, and Hanan and Tomoka Naba go to the time limit draw, which gives Hanan said it after the match, said, we've drawn, so I now have the defense record. And then said, you know who I really want to defend against? Waka Tsukiyama, which made me laugh. I was like, of all the people, to me, calling out Waka to defend a title against her is a thing that like a heel would do.
Yes, 100%.
And, the heel would come out and be like, I'm tired of defending this title. I'm tired of having to work for these defenses. I'm going to wrestle the worst wrestler on this roster to give me the month off or whatever. And then you would have Waka come out and win, and that would be the big moment of like beating the overconfident heel. But Hanan is not that character at all. So I was sort of like, why is Hanan so eager to defend this title against the worst wrestler on the roster?
Waka, who just the day before banana peeled her way into a blackface scandal.
Yes, which we haven't even gone into that yet. Then we were talking, I was talking with some people on the Voices of Wrestling Discord who were saying, we think Waka wins X, Y, and Z. Here's why. And I was like, oh my God, they're right. Waka's going to win. She's going to win this. And I'm going to be so annoyed, even though it doesn't really matter. And then she lost.
Yeah, thankfully.
And I was like, oh my God. This woman, she did appear later in the show. Someone took a picture of her something in a neck brace. So I do hope that she is not injured.
Yeah.
But I don't understand. I don't understand.
And I don't think, because I've seen people like, all right, she's going to get this big win. I don't think that's coming. I don't think there's a plan with Waka. I think she is just, we need someone to beat. Here she is. And they just keep beating her. And there's never really just any consideration to any story there. That's why she got this title shot where it's just like, oh, there she is. She's a person here on the roster. It's not like, oh, here's this big ass loser. I mean, we the fans might see it that way, but in the company, I think, oh, she's just someone like Rossi might not be keeping track and might not realize that they've just been beating this girl like a drum every week. So I mean, I'm sure they know she's the lost post, but I'm sure they're not like, oh, we could turn this into something, because I don't think they think of her that way. I think her going for a future title is kind of ridiculous. Like, I messaged you about this. I did not realize that she's 30. Like, and there's a 12-year age gap between these two wrestlers, which is kind of absurd.
Yeah, she is 30, and her professional wrestling record is she has 1 draw. Other than that, she is 1-182.
Oh my god.
And well, the funny thing is, you say like, oh, you think maybe they don't notice. I think they do notice, because I was looking through the Stardom English Twitter, which was saying Waka Mania is running wild. The crowd is going nuts for Waka. They want her to win. I don't know if they had bad audio mixing. We already talked about bad audio mixing.
Yeah, I don't think anyone was going nuts for her.
I didn't hear anyone going nuts. I heard her sad. I saw her sad at the end of the match to a smattering of light applause.
Yeah.
Like, very like, oh, well, we feel bad for you. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
Because it's like, it's not the Hanma thing where it's like everyone wanted to get behind Hanma. Everyone just feels bad for her.
But also, the Hanma thing had a clear and definitive way to end, which was that he was going to win a G1 match.
Yeah.
Like, that was the thing where it's like, he can't win in the G1. So you knew the end was going to be he wins in the G1.
And also, Hanma had an established career prior to being the guy that loses all the time. Like, he's one of the pioneers of the fluorescent light tube deathmatch.
Also, he was very good at that time.
Yes.
He was like just an excellent wrestler who had good matches, who could not win. This feels like here's someone who's fine and doesn't win.
Yeah.
And
I will say one good thing about this match. Hanan is getting even better at those 2.99 kickouts.
I mean,
like those were thrilling. I thought it was like, all right, Waka's winning here. Oh no, she kicked out.
I mean, I think she's going to have a very good, I almost said G1, 5-star Grand Prix.
All right, Hanan's in the G1. Let's go.
I mean, we were just talking about it. I think she's going to be very good in the 5-star Grand Prix and a good opportunity to move up. I guess the thing that confuses me is now it does sort of feel like with Hanan, like, who is next? She now has the record by 2, I think.
Yeah.
And that was the other thing where I was like, if you're going to beat Waka, why don't you beat Waka first? Because this isn't like a drawing match. And then have her lose it to Inaba. Now, Inaba is on the cutoff point. Like, at the Sendai Girls show, which we'll talk about, she gave up the junior title because she's not eligible anymore. But I'm just sort of like, who wins at this point? I guess maybe they're waiting for Miyu?
Maybe. I feel like Hanan should be allowed at some point to relinquish the title and get some sort of other title shot. Kind of like how the X Division title has Option X, in Impact.
But I think they've done that before, because I think Utami relinquished it.
She might have, yeah.
If I'm remembering correctly. But anyway, I mean, that's a very minor thing, because Hanan is good. I'm happy that she's in the 5-star Grand Prix. Mm-hmm. But just very weird, because I thought Waka was winning, and then she lost, and I was sort of like, oh, okay. All right. The next match was a tag match. The team of God's Eye, Amy Sourei and Mirai, defeated the Queen's Quest team of Miyu Amasaki and Utami Hayashita when Mirai hit the Miramare shock on Miyu. Kelly, I don't have that much to say about this match. Do you have anything to say about this match?
I like that God's Eye team. I think they're a cool team together. And really, like, it feels weird to have Utami cycle down the card this far. like she does not feel like she used to. Like she's nearing Balloons Okada levels of just like what is happening.
Well, I guess they're just I think with the 5-star Grand Prix, they're just sort of waiting for a lot of that, because then you'll be cycled back up the card because you'll have a lot of singles matches.
Yeah.
At that point, I'm sure she'll main event a number of these shows with whoever she faces off against. So I'm not too worried about that. I shouldn't have let you go on first because you took my one thought that I had on this match, which was that I also like the God's Eye duo. I think Amy Soray is a really good pickup because she's someone who they haven't needed to push a lot, but has been very good in ring. I think she meshes with Mirai really well. But other than that, I thought it was a solid match. I enjoyed it, but other than that, didn't really have too many thoughts about it. The next match was an 8-person tag team match. The Oedo Tai team of Fukigen Death, Rina, Ruaka, and Saki Kashima defeating the Stars team of Hazuki, Koguma, Mayu Iwatani, and Saya Ida when Rina pinned Saya Ida with a Gory Bomb. My first note on this match is, what?
Yeah.
And then I wrote, Rina pinning Saya Ida?
Yeah.
Which I didn't understand, and then I did understand, but only in the way that I'm like, that's what they were going for, but I was not happy that Saya Ida was pinned.
No, like, and putting aside Saya, how are you going to have the team that has the tag champions and Mayu lose to the Geek Squad of Oedo Tai?
Yeah, I thought, if anything, they'd do the Saki Kashima flash pin bit to keep that going. But I was sort of like, Rina? And then, of course, she came out later to challenge for the high-speed title. And I was like, oh, I understand why you did it, but not really still.
I don't think you needed to.
Saya Ida feels to me like well, first of all, it feels to me like she got injured and the company was like, we no longer trust you.
Yeah, she got Dolph Zigglered.
Because I really like her. I think she's really good. And I think, sort of clearly based on this result, that the company sees her as sort of an opener, low-level wrestler, which I'm sort of bummed about because I think she's really good, although I'm happy that she's in the 5-star because I think she'll be really good there. But it was just sort of a bummer to be like, a wrestler I like who's really good, and it's clear the company sort of doesn't see much in her. I guess I guess you don't really have that many other people based on the makeup of this card. But yeah, just a weird result to me. I thought it was just a match, and then it had a weird end, and that was the only thing that stuck out to me.
Mm-hmm.
The next match was our second title match, the high-speed title match. The champion Azumi retaining her title, defeating Momokogo in 10 minutes and 39 seconds with the numero uno submission. Kelly, what did you think of this match?
I thought it was pretty good. I thought Momo was able to hold her own against Azumi, and when you're working at this kind of speed, that is not easy to do. So she definitely looked like she belonged in this match. I went 3.5 stars. This was my favorite match of the show.
Wow. All right, a little spoilers for later. I really liked this match. I thought it was good. It sort of started not like a high-speed match, which I thought was sort of interesting, and I thought, maybe they've just determined that Momokogo can't really do that style, but then they did it near the end of the match, and it was really good, so I just thought it was fun that they sort of flipped the script, which is usually they go like a million miles an hour in the first 5 minutes, and then it slows down a little bit, and they did it in reverse. I have always been a fan of Momokogo. I know there's a lot of people who are like, she's no good, she stinks. I think she's great. I thought she was great in this match. I think she had a lot of cool stuff. I liked the 619 into the trip of Azumi. There was at one point where she started climbing the ropes, and I thought she was going to do a moonsault. And I was like, wow, this is going to be really impressive if she does a moonsault. And then she just turned around and did a splash. But then I wrote at the end, I thought it got really good at the end. I thought Momo looked really good. They had a great finishing high-speed sequence. Azumi looked great. Spoiler for the episode of Emerald Flow Show. But Azumi was in my top 5 wrestlers of the year, and this only helps because I went 4 stars. I thought this was really good, and another really good Azumi high-speed title defense. Then afterwards, Rina came out. Well, when I say afterwards, I mean almost immediately when the match ended.
Yeah, like it was right away.
Rina appeared to do a double stomp, which I actually really enjoyed because I was like, what the heck? And challenged Azumi for the high-speed title. So that will be happening in the future. But that was the high-speed title match. The next match was our last of the non-title match, a 10-person tag team elimination match. The Cosmic Angels team of Mina Shirakawa, Tam Nakino, Unagi Sayaka, along with the Colors duo of Akari Shimizu and Saki, defeated the Donna Del Mundo team of Julia, Himika, Maika, Mei Sakurai, and, controversially, Natsupoi, when at the end of the match, Natsupoi gave a thrust kick, super kick, I don't know exactly what the kick is called, to Julia to eliminate her and officially join Cosmic Angels. Kelly, I'm really interested to know what you thought of this match.
I liked this match until the very end. I think the Natsupoi turn sucked. I hate turns like this where it's like, all right, we're gonna go through the entire match. Everything's cool. I'm turning my back on you. Like I hate that shit. Like I thought that sucked. I think it's a really just shitty character moment for Natsupoi. I don't know why they would ever be like, all right, cool, you're supposed to like this person that turned their back on their friends. And rather than explaining like, hey, I feel like I can learn something more from this group, just be like, haha, fuck you guys, I made you lose. I'm getting out of here, going to hang out with my new friends, like this girl who I just really hated like a week ago. But we're buds now. It's like, I don't know. I thought that sucked. I really just hated that. I don't know why we're making Cosmic Angels even bigger now. But before then, I enjoyed the match. I thought the Micah getting the back-to-back eliminations was really cool. Within like 10 seconds, getting 2 eliminations. That was awesome. Overall, really good action. Like I went 3.5 on this one too. I probably would have gone higher if it didn't have a shitty ending. Yeah, Natsupoi sucks. She's a bad friend. I wouldn't trust her as far as I can throw her.
I like these elimination matches, although I thought this was probably the worst one they've done of the recent ones they've done. It feels like they've done a ton of them recently.
Yes.
And it feels to me a lot like the sort of tropes of them are now are like the seams are now showing, because you're like, oh, here's what happens: 2 people end up on the outside, they both get knocked off. Weird moment early in the match where Mei Sakurai appeared to eliminate her own partner,
Yeah.
which I thought was bizarre, and they were just sort of like, she did it. My favorite part of the match was the same as Kelly, when Micah just started destroying people in the middle of the match for like a very brief amount of time, which I thought was very cool. I like the story of the switch of Natsupoi from Donna Del Mundo to Cosmic Angels. Like, I like the idea, you fight in the cage, you lose, you fight again because they fought at the Korakuen. She wins to sort of prove herself as equal and then go, okay, I want to go with these people. The thing I didn't really understand, I do sort of agree with you on the thing of like, why do wrestlers wrestle entire matches and then turn on their team? But that's more of a thing that happens in a ton of wrestling.
Yeah.
It happens all the time. It is sort of annoying to me, but I've sort of accepted it as like, this is a wrestling thing that happens. Less than like, Stardom look what they did. I'm like, yeah, this is just sort of the way people have decided to do it.
It's a bad trope.
Yes. The thing that was weird to me was, I do have to say before this, the one thing I liked is Natsupoi gets in the ring at the end of the match and is talking to Tom about, oh, you know, I want to move to, Cosmic Angels, blah, 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 all the things she was saying. Unagi was standing in the background with a face that was looking like she was thinking, what the fuck is this?
Uh-huh.
She was like, which really made me laugh. I thought it was very funny. The thing I didn't understand about it is, from the Donna Del Mundo perspective, you're in this match, you're fighting hard. Julia gets kicked in the face and eliminated by Natsupoi. And then there's sort of this slow procession at the end of the match of Donna Del Mundo, people coming in the ring and being like, I'm very sad you're leaving.
It was very much a I'm not mad, I'm disappointed, which I think was even better than if they would just like attack her.
Like, but to me, it just sort of felt like if I were in that position, I would have much rather at least one of them be like, what the hell? Like, I'm very mad. And you can still be like, hey, I'm really sad you're leaving. But it felt more to me a disconnect between the match happens, and then it felt almost like like the matches they do where it's like the losing team gives up one of their members to the winning team, where they're like, oh, we're so sad you're leaving, we can't believe that you're leaving. I'm like, she just betrayed you in the middle of this match on a sort of big show. So that was the weird thing. Like, I totally get the switch. There's been all these rumors that Tom is going to retire. So, this could be making the way for Natsupoi to become the top of Cosmic Angels. And that could be the story that she sort of takes over the leadership when she leaves. Cosmic Angels is sort of big, although I don't know what they're going to do with these color. Like, if all of a sudden tomorrow they were like, the colors people are leaving, Cosmic Angels isn't that big. Because you've just gotten rid of a bunch of people's. But yeah, it was just weird to me to have this feeling of like, we've been betrayed by you. Like, we're so sad. We're sad to see you leave.
Like, to me, it didn't feel sad. Like, it felt more they were betrayed. I mean, I haven't seen the translations or anything, so I can't speak to that. But to me, it felt like they were, like, especially kind of Himika's response and how she kind of stormed off at the end and Michael went running after her. And Thekla's response, I thought, was really good. Like, she'd kind of communicated just disappointment to me. And then there's Mai Sakurai just standing there like the broom that became a human that she is, just doing nothing, looking kind of dead behind the eyes. And it's like, is it time to do the fist pose? And they're all like, no, not now.
But yeah, it just seemed there was no urgency to it either. It just seemed to go on for a while.
And it was like, a long ass segment.
I was like, there's not. Yeah, I just didn't really. I totally got it on a sort of surface level, but the execution of it, I was sort of like, okay.
Yeah. There was a bit at the very end when my COVID brain came through, and I was really confused when Mina grabbed the mic and started saying ladies and gentlemen and then went into her spiel. Because at first I thought the pheromones from DDT were coming out, and I got incredibly confused. I was like, oh no, what is about to happen? And then I realized it was Mina talking, not Dino.
The next match, our semi-main event, was for the Wonder of Stardom title match. The champion, Saya Kamatani, defeating Starlight Kid in 23 minutes and 35 seconds with the Phoenix Splash. Kelly, I'll let you go first.
I hate the Saya title run. I hate it. It's every match is the same. I have the same problems with every match. It's just doing a bunch of shit. There's no psychology to it. Like, Saya sold her leg so much more after the bell than she did in the match itself. Everything is so excessive. It's not a Saya match until you get 2 straight apron bumps, because fucking of course you have to. Like, someone needs to reprogram her. She is not a good wrestler. Like, she's technically gifted, but she does not have, like, she can't put together a match to save her life because they're all the same. And it just feels like you're watching a Fire Pro match where they're trying to get the stars, and it's like, all right, cool, you're just doing a bunch of shit, but you're not telling a story. Like, I don't know. I went 2 stars on it just because it's, on a technical level, it was good, but I don't think it hung together as a story at all. And I'm really, really, really tired of this title run.
Kelly, I think this might be the biggest difference of opinion we've ever had on this podcast.
Really? Wow.
Based on you giving it 2 stars. Because I thought this match ruled.
Really? Okay.
I thought the leg selling was I thought it was very good. I loved, there was a messy Spanish fly in the middle. I just thought it was okay. Now I'm like,
yeah,
okay,
I don't know what the hell happened with that.
I have to defend my position here. I disagree with you because I thought that the leg selling, and I thought Saya did very well with the leg selling for someone who doesn't do that type of match that I can remember. Like, there were obviously moments when she sold it slightly better. There were moments when she was slightly worse, when it was sort of like, okay, the next part of this match needs to be this. And it was sort of like, okay, she's sort of getting there and then selling after or something like that. But I thought for the level of someone who doesn't do it a lot and sort of does have these matches that are like move, 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 I thought she was really good. I thought it was excellent. I think some of it, I would think or hope, was the influence of Starlight Kid, who I thought was really good. Saya hit some really good suplexes on Starlight Kid in the middle of the match. I just thought it was great. I thought it had that story of Saya having to work around the leg. You know, she'd hit a move. She went up to do the Phoenix Splash early and couldn't quite steady herself on the rope because of the leg.
That was good. I did like that.
It was everything that, you know, I've sat on this podcast and I'm like, I would love Saya to do a match where she sells a leg. And she did it, and I love the match. And I'm like, see, I am correct. I went 4 3/4 stars.
Holy shit. That's insane.
I was thinking about 5. I couldn't quite get to 5 because a few of the legs, you know, the Spanish fly was a little bit, and some of the leg selling stuff was not perfect, but I just thought it was really good. It gave the match to me a structure, a through line that it does, that they never have when it's just like, here's a move, we're doing a move, we're doing a strike exchange. There was a through line of she's got to work around the leg. You know, she hits a move, she can't make the pin. She goes to the top rope to do the Phoenix Splash. She can't quite get there because the leg isn't working. It gave it some sort of focal point that to me made it so much stronger than those matches that are just, wow, look, she did this. Wow, look, she did that move. Which to me, I can see at this point in Stardom, like twice a month, multiple times a month. So, like I said, I think the biggest disagreement we've ever had on this podcast.
I think so. I think, honestly, I probably would have liked this match a little bit more without the leg selling, because it was, to me, the inconsistency of it just kept popping up, and I was like, well, why doesn't she care about that now? Oh, no, she does. Okay. All right. Now she's falling down. Oh, she can barely walk while they're putting the title back on her. There was a span where I went from like, oh, this is all right, to like, okay, cool, I don't like this match at all. When it was like later in the match when Starlight Kid had her in the crazy leg lock thing she does, and she escaped out of that and, you know, got to the ropes, and then Starlight Kid hit her with like 2 or 3 different suplexes, and both times she's like, kick out. And I was like, what the fuck? Just let Starlight Kid win.
I also think the match was helped in that I did think that Starlight Kid could win the match. That was another thing that I think helps it, where a lot of these title matches, I'm like, okay, I know who's winning. Where I thought, okay, Starlight Kid could reasonably win this match. She is getting a big push. Saya's had the title for a while. So I think that also helped, because I think it helped me buy some of the near falls where I'm like, oh, she could win. But yeah, I loved it. One of my favorite Stardom matches of the year. One of my favorite match of the year. Period.
Wow.
Which
I feel like with Saya now, I'm like, oh, is this why people don't like Will Ospreay? Is this that? Am I the old man now? Like, is that who I am? Am I just like, oh, just does flips, no psychology to it. I'm old. Like, that's all right. I guess that's who I am now.
Wow.
I'm a corn cob.
Wild stuff. And now I'm really glad we didn't talk before, because then I would have been prepared, and instead I could in real time be shocked by how differently we felt about this match. But I thought it was very good. I thought it was easily the best match of the show. And a really good run. We haven't talked about it, and we probably won't. But this show, it's funny because you were like, oh, I didn't like the show. And up until this match, I was sort of like, I had liked the high speed match. The openers I hadn't been crazy about. The Donna Del Mundo Cosmic Angel stuff I was sort of up and down on. So I sort of went into this match being like, oh, this is sort of one of those Stardom shows where it's not the big shows, but it's sort of like a quote unquote big show. And I was sort of like, yeah, this is the way I'm feeling, where the show I think is just fine. And then this match really bumped it up for me.
I think my high point of the entire show was those two Micah eliminations. I think that was the most I enjoyed this show.
And finally, the main event for the World of Stardom title, the champion Shuri defeating Momo Watanabe in 20 minutes and 16 seconds. I liked this match. I didn't love it. Now, it was following up on a match I thought was really good, which probably didn't help. I don't know how much I love the stuff with the wrench, which was clearly the sort of story of the match. It was in Momo's entrance video, like her.
Yeah, I love that she's got a big like yeah, look at this wrench. Here's how wrenches are built. Like here's a full blueprint for it in my opener.
The thing that this is sort of my what's up with wrestling stuff that you sort of had with the turning on someone at the end of a match, is you put the wrench in your boot. The ref doesn't know the wrench is in your boot. Why don't you just go over to the person and kick the shit out of them for like 5 minutes with a wrench in your boot?
Yeah, you don't have to only do it the one time.
You do it the one time and you're like,
kicking.
You're like, oh, I didn't pin her. Pick her up and kick her with your wrench boot again.
Yeah.
You know, I have never been crazy about the more overt Oedo Tai interference stuff, which always sort of makes me roll my eyes. And I hope that this is not a preview of the 5-star for Momo, because I don't want, interference. I don't really want that. I don't love, the New Japan style, like, oh, we're doing a big tournament, so one match every night will be a match that really annoys you with interference.
Well, they went through the trouble of rendering that wrench, so I think they're gonna keep doing this.
But I said I liked it, didn't love it. I went 4 stars, but I don't know if that's really how I feel about it.
I went 3 stars because I came away with this match with 0 thoughts on it. Like, I have no opinions. I watched it, I was like, that sure was a wrestling, and then kind of just went about my day.
I sort of watched it. I was like, I did like this. I'm not sure. Am I off the fumes of the previous match? So I sort of was like 4 stars. Yeah, I mean, it also was one of those matches where you're like, well, Momo's not winning.
Yeah.
Clearly. So, yeah. But a show that I actually ended up really enjoying, and combined with the 526 show, I'm like, probably the highest I've been on Stardom. We didn't talk about the 526 show.
Cage match, very good.
cage match very good, and I thought the main event was very good.
Oh yeah, I didn't like that one as much.
Of that I mean, I didn't like it as much, but I went 5
Yeah.
stars on the semi-main. So
Oh yeah, but like the main, I probably have it in my notes somewhere. I don't know. I didn't go very high on it. Just like I don't like those. It very much felt like, I think I said it on the solo show, where it was just like, it's like one of those WWE matches where it's just like, all right, it's that time of the calendar, so Hell in a Cell, you guys are gonna have this cage match, just cause. And it's like, I did really love the fact that Utami was just like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this match. This is stupid. I should get out of here.
but I really liked the top 4 matches on that show. I think I went all 4 stars or above. So I really liked that show. And I tweeted about it, and I think I said it was one of the best Stardom shows I had seen in at least a number of years. I thought it was very good. And combined with this, hey, maybe, as I said, I think Stardom is starting to do more things that I said they should do. So because they're doing it, I am really liking it. See, it's that easy, Stardom. Just do the things that I suggest doing on this podcast.
Yeah.
And I'll enjoy the shows.
All right, you can book Stardom. I'll book AEW's women's division.
All right, so what else happened? We'll quickly cover the rest of Stardom. As we mentioned, they had the Korakuen Hall show with the Henin draw with Tomoko Inaba for the Future of Stardom title. They had Natsupoi versus Tom 2, which I think I saw online. Some people liked more than the cage match, but I went 5 stars on the cage match, so obviously I did not like this match as much.
Yeah, I went 3 3/4 or 4 3/4 on the cage match, and then 4 on this one.
And then they had the end of the 5-star qualifying league. We will be talking all about the 5-star Grand Prix next episode as we preview everyone in it and all the... Oh, what?
Oh, I just remembered the Tom Natsupoi 2 is my match of the year in one regard, in that I really enjoyed how many times Tom pushed over Daichi. That was great. She like pushed him down like 3 times. It was awesome.
There were some major Daichi moments in the past 2 weeks that we talked about. Daichi trying to catch Tom at the end, or catch Natsupoi at the end of the cage match, which was very bizarre to me.
There was one bit on the show on the 9th. I can't remember what match it was, but at some point, Daichi is just in the corner, just taking his mask off, just breathing the heaviest breaths possible. I'm like, dude, I don't know. Maybe if you can't ref on a mask, maybe you shouldn't be doing that right now. Like, he looked like he was not doing great at that moment.
What else happened in Stardom? On July 2nd, Hazuki and Koguma went to a 30-minute time limit draw with Amy Sourei and Mirai for the tag title, so they will be having a rematch, which we will talk about in a second. They had a show on July 3rd, and then on July 8th, they had New Blood number 3, which both Kelly and I watched. I think I was slightly higher on it than Kelly was. I thought it was a mostly fine show. I thought Suzuki, and Mirai was the highlight of the show. And clearly the low light of the show, Waka Tsukiyama coming out in blackface.
Oh, Waka, what are you doing? And like, we all know that's not what she intended. But it's still not good. And someone, even she, should have known better. Like, I'm pretty sure she spent time in America, like, as growing up. Like, I'm pretty sure that's something that she did. Like, she should know better. And like, I get it. It's the inverse of Ram's paint. Like, I see what you're doing. But don't do blackface.
I just thought, take it out of the context of, it being problematic, which it clearly is. But let's just pretend it's not for the moment. It didn't even look good to me.
Oh, no, she very big sad clown vibes.
And like, she took it, well, first of all, she came to the ring holding the towel awkwardly in front of her face for a while. And I was like, this is very weird. Not even in the cool way that like Minoru Suzuki comes out with it sort of draped over his face, and you're like, very cool. She came out like holding it like a curtain where she was gonna like do a magic trick and be like, ta-da. And then she reveals it to almost no reaction.
Any reaction there was people laughing at her. Like, it was uncomfortable laughing.
It wasn't even like, wow, whoo. It was just like reveal. And then the match was not all that good. But New Blood 3, I thought overall, taking that part out of it, fine.
Yeah, it was probably my least favorite of the New Blood shows.
Yeah, I think it didn't peak as high. I thought Suzu and Mirai was good. Like, I was sort of 3.5, maybe bordering on 3 3/4.
Yeah. And then also, the prominence member that everyone, including myself, always forgets about choked out Siri. That was weird.
It also was one of those things where Mirai and Suzu was sort of getting hyped because I didn't watch it that morning when it aired. I watched it that night, and I sort of saw online people being like, whoa, it's really, really good. And I sort of watched it and was like, this is good, but not sort of the good I was expecting based on the reaction from some people. So that might have hurt it a little bit for me. What else went on in the world of Joshi wrestling in the last 2 weeks? Seedling had a show on June 30th. Asuka and Makoto in the main event, retaining their tag titles over Amazon and Rina Yamashita. Sendai Girls had a show today on July 10th from Korakuen Hall. A really good show that aired live. I did watch it. The main event, Dash Shizako against Suzu Suzuki, really good. Some really cool spots. Dash especially taking some pretty gnarly bumps and then giving some gnarly bumps, including one that, the big move from the match, Dash jumping off a ladder from in the ring to a table outside. But there was a move where Dash just rode a ladder down onto Suzu, which looked really crazy. And then the main event, the Sendai Girls title match, Chihiro Hashimoto retaining her title against Asuka in the main event. Another really good match. Asuka continuously taking suplexes as dangerously as she possibly can every single time, which is wild. But if you can, check out that show. The top 2 matches are really fun. And that match, or that show, I should say, had cheering because Sakura Hirota came out in the middle of the show and said, everyone, break the rules. And people did break the rules. Ice Ribbon had a number of shows, not much going on there. Diana had a show today. Haruka Umasaki retaining the Princess of Pro Wrestling title over Naname. Wave wrapped up their Catch the Wave tournament. Only the finals are left, which we will talk about in a second. And Kelly, what was going on the last 2 weeks in Choco Pro?
All right, Choco Pro 241 from July 1st. Best Bros, team of Mei Suruga and Balianaki, defeated Sayaka Obihiro and Yuna Mizumori in the main event. Fun, fast-paced match. I went 3.5 stars. Choco Pro 242 on the 3rd. Kirihara and Yuna defeated Mei and Chie Koshikawa in the main. Choco Pro 243 on the 9th. Ken Oka defeated Yuna Mizumori in a match that I really only bring up because that's a weird match. Like, okay, cool. Ken Oka's here to wrestle Yuna Mizumori. Why not? And then the main event of that show was really good. The Egg Tarts team of Chie and Hagane Shino defeated Aki and Sayaka. Really good, hard-hitting match. I'd love a singles match between Shino and Sayaka. I went 3 3/4 on that one. Then Choco Pro 244 from today, the 10th. This one's notable because they upgraded their cameras and microphones. So they've got a better picture quality now. The only downside is that when you hand the camera to Antonio Honda, he does not know how to fix the focus. So you have to wait until May walks in the room for her to fix it for him. So that's a bit of an issue. On that show, the opener was Obihiro Sayaka defeating Antonio Honda in a cream puff death match. So the rules of that match were it was 2 count falls, and after a fall, you had to eat a cream puff. And the loser of the match was the one that found the cream puff that was full of wasabi. Antonio Honda eventually did find the wasabi. But this was a super fun match. Really goofy, included a musical interlude. And then it just kind of turned into them rolling back that match from the very early days of Choco Pro, where Honda and Sayaka just chopped the hell out of each other. Like, I think, what was that, Choco Pro 3, maybe? Yeah, this was fun. Those two have really good chemistry. I went 3.5 stars on that one. And then the main event, Best Bros defeated Chie and Kaori Oniyama. This was Aki's goodbye match as he is leaving for, I think, 2 months to head to America. It was slightly marred by the audio being out of sync, but that's more just growing pains with their new technology as they kind of figure things out. But I still enjoyed it. I went 3.5 stars on that one. And then after the match, May challenged Chie to a singles match to show that Choco Pro is still fine, even with people leaving for a while. So things are looking good in the Choco Pro world.
All right, and what is coming up in the next 2 weeks? Stardom has a bunch of shows, some house shows on the 14th, 16th, and 18th, but then on the 23rd, the first ever Stardom in Showcase. Stardom in Showcase is a new, don't want to say third brand, but it is a third sort of wing of Stardom, just like New Blood is a wing. Stardom in Showcase, I believe the words they use is you'll see things in Stardom in Showcase you wouldn't see in or on regular Stardom shows. They have a show on their first show on the 23rd. 2 matches have been announced as of this moment. The first, a Falls Count Anywhere match. Tom Nakino, Koguma, Azumi, and Momo Watanabe in a 4-way there. The art of this match seems to be on a playground, so not entirely sure if that will factor into the match or if it's just the graphic that they are using.
I'm getting the vibe that this is cinematic matches. Like, I think Rossi finally just discovered them. I was like, all right, let's try give this a shot.
And the other match that has been announced is a 3-way coffin match. Starlight Kid, Saya Kamatani, and the mysterious Grim Reaper in a 3-way coffin match. I just like reading the mysterious Grim Reaper. The mysterious Grim Reaper has been attacking in videos, attacked Starlight Kid. So I'm assuming, although I don't know, I'm assuming this match would begin and the mysterious Grim Reaper will reveal themselves. Although I don't know. Maybe they wrestle the whole match as the mysterious Grim Reaper. We will see. As Kelly just said, Kelly thinks that these are going to be cinematic matches. I don't think they'll be cinematic matches, but we don't know.
Yeah, and I have nothing to back up that opinion, like that thought. Like, I just think they are, and I don't know why. It's just the vibe I get.
The language that Stardom has used to talk about these shows is not entirely clear, except for, as I said, the fact that these are things you wouldn't see in, I guess, quote unquote, regular Stardom, whatever that means. But we will see what happens there. I'm looking forward to it. I think these 2 matches sound very weird and will be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm into it.
Then on the 24th, Stardom has their next big show, which is Midsummer Champions in Nagoya, I believe is the title of the show. 2 matches announced for that, 2 title matches. Saki Kashima, Starlight Kid, and Momo Watanabe will defend their Artist of Stardom titles against Julia, Maika, and Himika at the end of that at the end of the June 26th show. The winning Stars trio from the cage match said that they wanted to challenge for the titles, but they did not win the follow-up match at Korakuen, so instead it will be the Donna Del Mundo team. And the main event, a rematch of the time limit draw. Koguma and Azuki will defend their tag titles against Amy Sourei and Mirai of God's I. Seedling has a show coming up on July 13th, celebrating the anniversary of Riko Kaiju's debut. Asuka versus Riko Kaiju is the opener. Amazon versus Riko Kawahata. Makoto and Risa Kagura versus Yuna Manase and Chie Ozora. And the main event is Arisa Nakajima, Ayame Sasamura, and Riko Kaiju against Dash Chizako, Maika Ozaki, and Mayumi Ozaki. So that should be a fun show. Oz has a show on July 18th. Tokyo Joshi is not slowing down. Their Tokyo Princess Cup number 9 will start on July 16th. The first round will be July 16th and 17th. The quote-unquote second round will be on the 18th and the 23rd. This is one of those where they have 20 people entering. They have not announced who those 20 people will be yet. 20 people entering, so they have a couple matches where to get to that next round, they have to... some people will have to wrestle twice. Some people will only have to wrestle once. Sendai Girls have another show on July 15th. Dash Chizako and Hiroya Matsumoto against Mika Iwata and Miyuki Takase is the main event of that show. Ice Ribbon has a few shows coming up. One that stood out to me was on July 17th. They will be at the Exquisite Gourmet Picnic Festival.
Hell yeah.
Which is described as Zeppin Fest 2022, is full of exquisite gourmet foods from all over the country. There are plenty of things that not only adults but also children can enjoy, such as gorgeous performances on the stage. You can enjoy it like a picnic.
That sounds wonderful.
And then the next day, on the 18th, Ibuki versus Matsuhita. The winner will face Hikaru Shida at Ice Ribbon's Korakuen Hall show on July 31st. And then finally, as I mentioned, the Catch the Wave stuff coming to the end. The finals, Nagisa Nozaki against Suzu Suzuki for the Regina de Wave title on July 17th. So that is everything that is coming up in the next 2 weeks. When we're back with you, we'll of course be talking the Tokyo Princess Cup and hopefully those two big Stardom shows. Kelly, you got anything more you want to say to the people? You got a movie review? It's been a while.
Yeah, like directly before we recorded the show, I went to go see the new Thor. That was all right. I like the comics it's based on more. So read the first 11 issues of Thor: God of Thunder for the God Butcher story arc, because that story fucking rules.
All right, well, a backdoor comic review. Kelly trying to get a spin-off here of his movie reviews. But that is all for us, and we will talk to you again in 2 weeks. Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.